Okay, welcome back. I hope those first 8 tips were helpful. Now we're going to jump into what we do when we're dealing with the aggression, when the child has actually hit. What do we do, and how can we navigate that in a calm, healthy manner so we don't lose our cool too? Okay, so dealing with aggression. The first tip I have for you is to offer a positive cool down spot. So, most of us, I think most of us, grew up knowing about timeout. And timeout in most traditional parenting settings has been used to help curb a child's behavior. So traditionally, children are sent to the timeout spot when they're misbehaving and they need to change their behavior. And it hasn't really been used in a positive way. It's been used more as a punishment. Like you need to go there so you can learn your lesson and think about what you did and come back and say you're sorry. Or um, go sit in the corner, stare at the wall. And what children tend to learn through that experience is that there's a lot based on their behavior. And so when they act in a negative way, instead of thinking I did something bad, they start to internalize it and start to think I am something bad. I am bad, as opposed to I did something bad. So, Brene Brown, who's amazing, she talks about the difference between guilt and shame. So one way is that the guilt says I did something bad. It's this external thing. And shame is what tends to happen when a child is in a timeout for a punishment or made to sit in a corner. And what that tells a child is that I am bad. And they start to internalize that. And then they start to act out from that belief system. So it's really important to differentiate the difference between a positive cool down spot and a punishment based timeout. And research and studies have shown that it can be really, really healthy and really positive and can change a child's behavior long term when we use the positive cool down spot. So um, ensure, when you're going to the positive cool down spot, it's important to talk about it ahead of time and just to say calmly, okay, Timmy or Janie or whatever your child's name is, um, if you choose to hit or if you're getting really wound up, we need a calm down spot. And what's really great is it can be so much more helpful if you go with them. So this is not a go to your room, I'm disconnecting with you. Because oftentimes children, especially toddlers, they need us to help re-regulate their system. So if you say, okay, when you're getting really overwhelmed and when you feel like hitting and you hit, it's going to be time to go to our positive cool down spot. And you could name it any silly, cute name that you can think of, like Sparkles or Sunshine or La La Land, whatever. And you can have a lot of fun with it. And you can set up a whole area just for your child that might have some quiet, calming activities to do. One of the things that we use are those books that are like the I Spy books or the Where's Waldo books. Because what that does is it gets a child to focus on something. And I've used it when my kids are just out of control and super frustrated and having this big meltdown. And what it does is it tends to calm their brain down because they can focus on something outside of themselves and they're looking for solutions. So once they've calmed down, then we can go back and talk about how to problem solve for the next time. So it can be a really powerful thing. So having soothing, maybe tactile, anything that they love to snuggle with or love to cuddle with, maybe a few stuffed animals, a few books, a few puzzles, things like that that you can do together and really give them that time to calm down and connect with you. The second tip in this section is to break it up. So, oftentimes, when children are having some kind of a disagreement or something, it can be really helpful to kind of wait, you know, until things escalate. Because and just to make statements like, I know you guys can work out your problems, or I'm here if you need help, working this problem out together. Or I see two friends arguing over a situation, but I have faith that you can work it out. So making those kinds of statements can make children feel very capable that they can do it. And so oftentimes they will. Our impact and our perception of their capability is huge when it comes to showing them that we trust them and that we believe they are capable of doing these things. So, but when things do get out of hand and one child acts out towards another and whatnot, just simply neutralizing it and be like, okay, oh, kids, and address both of them as kids. Don't try not to single anybody out, even though there was somebody hitting another person. Just say, kids, oh, it looks like we all need a break. And then everybody takes a break together. Because otherwise, if you just focus on the one child that acted out, the other child may have actually instigated that whole situation and had taken a toy from that child. And so what tends to happen is we don't see that happen. We just hear a child crying because so and so hit so and so, and we end up accidentally sometimes scolding or disciplining the wrong child, the child who was not instigating it. And of course, they both need to be held accountable. That's why it can be really effective to just adjust them both together, kind of put them in the same boat. So it neutralizes this good kid, bad kid scenario. Okay, so if you are in public, so the third step here or tip is if you are in public, it can be really helpful, not only for your child, but also for you to kind of decide and let your child know, hey, if you're going to a store or something, again, like bringing a toy that they like, some kind of distraction item, or some food so that they are distracted, and letting them know ahead of time what to expect. So plan ahead of time. What to expect. So if you're going to, let's say, Target or something, and you are going to be passing by the toy aisle, letting them know, hey, you can get a Hot Wheels car, or we're not getting any toys today, or something like that, just so they know what to expect. And then when you're in that aisle, or and they see the Hot Wheels car, at least you're giving them some choices. And if they choose to act out, just let them know, okay, if I know you really, really want that car, and validate their feelings and be like, and rather than but, and we are not going to be able to buy that car today. We can come back later and do it. And let them know, if you continue, we're going to have to leave the store right now. And you have to be ready and willing to just scoop up your kiddo and walk out, even if you haven't finished all of the shopping, knowing that maybe you can come back later. If you can't come back later, then you can make that call. But in a situation like that, just really validating your child's experience and feelings, sometimes that can just be enough. And then just shifting everything to some kind of distraction so that you don't actually have to go home. Okay, so the fourth tip is to band together. So this is really important. Sometimes we have expectations and rules for our children that we're not even following. A great example is we don't like it when our kids yell. We tell our kids to not yell ever, right? And yet, when our children don't listen to us, we think we have the authority and feel entitled to yell at them because they're not doing what we wanted them to do in the first place. So it's just a very subtle way that we kind of have this we give our children mixed messages, and we have a double standard where we kind of have the get out of jail free card, but we have this very high expectation that they follow the rules. So the best way to navigate that is to be on the same team with your kid. Okay, a lot of parenting books and styles and things, especially traditional parenting styles, often tell us that, you need to lay down the law, you need to set these boundaries, you need to let them know who's boss. And there's nothing wrong with that, except if you are going into a situation like that, you are definitely not on the same team with your kid, which means there's this power dynamic that is really going to encourage a lot of resentment and rebellion from your child, which I don't think you want. So I won't say there's nothing wrong with that. There are some definitely things that are wrong with that dynamic when it comes to being an effective parent. So I don't like to look at things as being good or bad in that regard, because I think that just puts there's a lot of shame and things that can come with that. So what I like to do is really focus on what's effective versus what's not effective. It is so much more effective to be on the same team with your child and to give them the same respect and be willing to cooperate with them as much as you're expecting it from us. Otherwise, it's a one-way street. And then children learn that relationships are transactional. I'll only do for you if you give to me first. I'll only cooperate with you if you're cooperating with me. And that's not a dynamic that we probably want our children to inherit from us. So it's just really important to be mindful of that. And then trying to create a unified front with your partner if possible. So most parents come to parenting with their own style that they grew up with. And sometimes it's hard to navigate how to co-parent together. And I'm going to be doing a video and some training on how to do that and how to have an empowered conversation with your partner around co-parenting issues. So you should also look for that, because that's going to be a really powerful resource for you. Okay, so the fifth tip in this last section is to avoid spanking. So a growing body of research confirms the negative effects of corporal punishment. Frequent spankings tend to undermine a child's self-esteem and increases the chances they'll use physical force themselves. I was recently speaking with a mom who has a friend who has a toddler, who they were having a play date, and this woman's toddler hit this other woman's child, and the mom grabbed that son and started spanking him, and she was saying, we don't hit, stop hitting. And she was hitting her son. And so that's just a great example of a mixed message. Her actions and words were completely opposite from each other. So if we don't want children to hit, it doesn't make any sense to hit them to get them to cooperate. They're learning a lot of negative things, and it is hurting them on many levels, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally and psychologically. It's just there are so many negative things that come from spanking kids. And a lot of us, we don't tend to see that as necessarily bad, because maybe we were spanked as kids and we turned out fine. But when it comes to a child's sense of self, and do you want them to walk away from a situation with you or an interaction with you feeling like they are bad from the inside out, feeling like they aren't seen and heard for who they are, and that their behavior is more important than they are? Those are some things to think about when it comes to spanking kids. The other aspect of that is putting a child in the corner. That creates so much shame. That child feels completely isolated and alone. And there's a lot of negative self talk that starts to happen in a situation like that. A lot of shame. And when a child has those experiences, they grow up believing things about themselves that aren't true, and it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy over time. So if a child believes, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, I never do anything right, they aren't ever going to try to do anything good, because they've been taught that they are bad. So it's really important to not spank, not put children in a corner, and to switch from looking through the lens of punishments and look through the lens of discipline, looking for like solutions as opposed to punishment. So it's the difference between looking for the future and planning ahead and looking for solutions to problems, as opposed to paying for past behaviors, paying the price for past behaviors. So just think about that as you're working with your toddler and as you're raising your kids. Which direction do you want to be going? Do you want to be moving backwards and focusing on what they did as punishment, or do you want to be looking forward and looking for solutions to help them build the life skills they're going to need to be successful adults? Okay, the sixth one here, the last and final tip I have for you is to seek professional help. So there are a lot of different resources out there, from working with play therapists and occupational therapists that can really help children channel their emotions and internal world and things. So in the notes it says if your child seems violent or angry, your pediatrician can help. So you can talk to your pediatrician about some of the behavior you're seeing, and especially if it's self-harm. So some children, they start picking at their skin or they'll pull their own hair out. If your child is doing anything like that, it is time to seek professional help. I will give you an example. So my son, when he was about 3 or 4, was experiencing extreme, and I mean extreme, separation anxiety at preschool. I would go and take him to preschool, and he would cling to me and just sob and scream. And it became this very traumatic experience for both of us. I felt like an awful mom leaving him like that. And so I would hold him and comfort him for sometimes up to 40 minutes. And it didn't matter. Like, then I would go and have to pull the band-aid off fast and like leave because it had been 40 minutes and I had to get to work and whatnot. And it would start all over again. And I couldn't figure out, I had tried so many different things. And so I took him to see our pediatrician and asked him, what is this normal? What do I do? What resources do you recommend? And he recommended play therapy, which we did for a while. And all of this happened right before COVID. So then my son was home with us for a year or whatnot after that, and he was fine going back to preschool after that. But the play therapy did help, and he gave us some really great advice. He said it's always good to seek professional help when whatever the situation is has disrupted the family routine, home, or just this overall situation. So anytime you have a situation with your kids where it's becoming disruptive to how the family functions on a daily basis, and maybe there's, you have to walk, I don't know, tiptoe around a situation, or all of a sudden your kid freaks out because they don't want to go to school, or they're having nightmares at night and they're not able to sleep through the night regularly. Those are the times and situations where it makes sense to seek some professional help. So I would love to be a resource for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and let me know how it goes. And I would love it if you could rate me or give me a review on this video. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you soon. Take care and best of luck with your toddler. Take care. Bye-bye.